Hi, my name is Amanda Waddell, and I'm going to talk to you guys today about zero waste, why it's so important, how we can get it started in our communities, and zero waste lifestyle. So, like I said, my name is Amanda. I am the director of Zero Waste at the Repurpose Project. I also help run Zero Waste Gainesville. We are a community group in Gainesville, Florida, led by three volunteers. I'm also an instructor with Zero Waste USA, and I absolutely love animals and have a strong connection to nature. And that's really what drives all of the work that I do. So, just a little bit about Zero Waste Gainesville, and I'm going to go ahead and minimize myself so you guys can see the whole screen. Zero Waste Gainesville, we're a community group, and we really focus on two areas. We do education and outreach in the community to really help everybody know what zero waste is, how to get zero waste started in your lifestyle. And we also talk to city and county commissioners in Gainesville and Alachua County, and we are getting zero waste going in our community. So Gainesville passed a resolution and they have passed some ordinances and they're working on a strategic plan for zero waste. And like I said, I'm the director of Zero Waste at the Repurpose Project. So the Repurpose Project is in Gainesville, Florida, and it is a creative reuse center. It has basically a lot of stuff from our community that people donate, and then the Repurpose Project sorts it and organizes it and resells it. And the mission of the Repurpose Project is to keep usable material out of the landfill and do a lot of education and outreach on why that is so important. And reuse in Gainesville is very important for our overall zero waste mission. And also, next week, January 24th through 30th, is Zero Waste Week 2021. So I hope everybody can join us for Zero Waste Week. So today I'm going to talk about what is zero waste communities, and lifestyle. So living zero waste day to day as an individual or a family. And I want to start off talking about how we are all connected. It's very important to understand that we are connected to our earth, all of the animals, ecosystems, the sun, the water, the air, the soil. Soil is very important, the food that is produced, and the built environment. So it's all really important and we're all connected. But today we're going to talk about zero waste. So it's important to mention the waste in the United States. So the US EPA follows those data. And in 2018, 292.4 million tons of waste was managed in the United States. And you can see by the pie chart that 50% of that trash that all of us in our communities in the United States made went to a landfill. Some was recycled, less than a quarter, a very small percentage composted, a very small percentage combusted with energy recovery, and a little bit of the food managed with other pathways. But 50% is landfilled, and we really need to work on reducing the amount that was landfilled and the amount that went to incineration. But today we're going to talk about zero waste, and that's more about resource management, not waste management. We really want to put waste management on their head because waste really is a design flaw. Anything that's destined to the landfill should really be redesigned. So, what is zero waste? We're going to talk about that. So, the Zero Waste International Alliance has a really fantastic definition of zero waste, and that's really what I use in all of the work I do. So zero waste is the conservation of all resources by means of responsible production, consumption, reuse, and recovery of products, packaging, and materials without burning and with no discharges to land, water, or air that threaten the environment or human health. And that really sums up what zero waste is. Absolutely. So really nature is our model. So in nature, nothing is wasted. All of the energy and nutrients just keep cycling. And that's really what we want, what we strive for with zero waste is to keep resources cycling in the system. And there really is no way because any landfill that we have or incinerator, it's in somebody's backyard. It's it's beside an ecosystem. There might be a river there. It can affect our groundwater. So there is no way. So with zero waste, we really strive for culture change. We want to change our relationship with stuff. Instead of thinking it as trash that should go away and never thought of again, we really want to think of all of that as resources, resources that should stay in use, that has value. And again, the part that we are all connected. Zero waste is a journey that we'll all go on together. It's a really long journey too, and has a lot to do with social and environmental justices. And this is a lot upstream, where products and packaging are made, where resources are extraction, as well as downstream, thinking of the landfill and the communities and animals and ecosystems near them. So the Zero Waste International Alliance also has this zero waste hierarchy. And when you look at this hierarchy, the top portions, the largest portions, are where you should put most of your effort. So with Rethink and Redesign, that is a lot about products and packaging. Because we want products and packaging to be durable, to be able to be repairable, to stay in our system a really long time. Reduce is really important. Reduce the problematic material that isn't reusable, that isn't recyclable or compostable. And reuse. Reuse is incredibly important, of durable material, of construction material, reuse and refill systems, with everyday food and drinks that we have. So those are the areas we really want to concentrate on with zero waste. Also with zero waste, we want to create a circular economy, again, just like in nature, where energy and nutrients cycle and stay in the system, stay in use. That's what zero waste wants to do too. So the Ellen MacArthur Foundation has a really clear definition of the circular economy, where they want to design out waste and pollution, keep products and materials in use, and use regenerative natural systems. So with zero waste, we talk a lot about upstream versus downstream. So with downstream really starts at the point of purchase. When we as consumers buy something, from there on it's downstream. But upstream is really where zero waste wants to make a lot of big impact. And upstream is the resource extraction, the processing, manufacturing, all the transportation in between. And what we want is we want clean production. We want to take less natural resources out of the ground. We want product redesigned so that they can be used over and over and over again, so they're durable and last a long time. And we want product stewardship. So the people upstream who make the products, we want them to be responsible for them. And then downstream with zero waste systems, we want reuse. Because we've made these products so well upstream, we want to keep them in the system as long as possible. We want composting downstream to keep valuable resources in use, the food scraps, the vegetation. None of that should go to a landfill. We want recycling. This is mechanical recycling, our basic stuff, the metals, the glass, paper products. And we want resource recovery parks where we can really sort all of this stuff and keep it in the system. So another thing about zero waste is that it creates jobs. According to the Institute for Local Self-Reliance, when you manage 10,000 tons of material via landfill, it only really creates one job. But 10,000 tons of material with composting will create 4 jobs, and with recycling, that'll create at least 10 jobs. And that's again because in zero waste, we want to manage resources, not waste. And when you manage resource, it takes more people to do that because you're managing it separately. You're not just commingling everything and throwing it in a landfill to fill and cover. And then again, with reuse centers create jobs, 75 to 200 jobs per 10,000 tons of material. And that's a wide range of jobs because there's such a wide range of reuse materials that we can keep in use. So the jobs really depend on what the materials are. But I can tell you, since I work for a creative reuse center, that it does take a lot of people to take in the donations, sort through them, price them, and then help the customers buy this stuff again. And I don't work in the store day to day, but I follow what they do. I follow what sells, and it's pretty phenomenal. So if you have a creative reuse center in your community, I encourage you to go to that. If you do live here locally in Gainesville or Alachua County, please visit the Repurpose Project and support the mission, support this nonprofit. So zero waste can play a role in climate change mitigation. So when you look at this pie chart from the US EPA from a 2009 report, they took a system-based view of greenhouse gas emissions in the United States. And the sections on the right are where zero waste can make a difference with climate change mitigation, because again, we're managing resources. And if provisions of goods is 29% of that pie chart, along with provision of food, that's what zero waste is all about. We want to make these systems of consumption and products and packaging and food all more efficient. We want to cut out the waste upstream. And we also want to keep these products in use. And with food, it's the food scraps, keeping them in a circular system through composting and creating a soil amendment. So zero waste has a lot that we can do to tackle these greenhouse gas emissions with the provision of goods and provision of food. So basically, zero waste is culture change and system change. We want upstream redesign. We want to manage resources, not waste. Resources absolutely have value. We want stuff to be reusable and recyclable and compostable. And if it's not, it needs to be redesigned. And we want reusable to be mainstream and to really get rid of disposables. So zero waste communities. I think it's really important to talk about the communities that are working towards zero waste because, there's so many reasons. This is a map courtesy of the Zero Waste USA. And I think that this map is going to grow with more of these stars and dots on them because more and more communities are realizing that there's so many good reasons to work towards zero waste. And just like we've talked about before, it creates good green jobs. You create a culture where you value resources. You can help mitigate climate change, promote local sustainability, keep resources local. And this has a lot to do with the reusable and durable items, construction items, stuff like that. But also with the food waste and keeping those resources local that we need to create soil amendments to then help our local community have really good, healthy soils. So there are so many advantages to building a zero waste community, and it also takes the burden off the individual. And we'll talk about that a little bit more as we go along. So with zero waste communities, the way to begin is to establish a goal. So in Gainesville, we have a goal to be zero waste by 2040. Pass a resolution, create the timeline that you want. If you don't have a current waste audit, I encourage your community to conduct a waste audit. You need those data to help figure out what you need to start reducing and where you need policies, program, and infrastructure. So the zero waste planning is really important. And through that planning, you can establish guiding principles, goals, and objectives. You really do need a master plan or a strategic plan to help your community work towards zero waste. You need a ton of education and outreach, and you need the infrastructure to help you get it done in a community. So again, with zero waste communities, you need the policies, programs, and infrastructure. But really what's important is to establish the guiding principles, which should be inclusion and equity, and the objectives. So any objectives for a zero waste strategic plan should really include climate change mitigation, creating good green local jobs, and keeping resources local. And these resources, again, are the reusable and durable items, and also the food scraps, keeping those resources local, creating composting programs that then create a soil amendment that you can use locally. That is an absolutely natural closed loop system that we need to work on in our communities. But when you have a community working towards zero waste, you really do need the social infrastructure, meaning you need the community education and outreach. And that's a lot of what we do at Zero Waste Gainesville. We hold forums and workshops. We do things like this where we talk to community groups about what zero waste means. We table at a lot of events, meaning we take a lot of our personal stuff to events around town, and we talk to people about what it means to be zero waste. And this is really necessary in a community. Another thing with social infrastructure is that we're going to have to pass policies that focus on waste prevention. So talking to the community, creating campaigns about some of these is really important. One that I've been working on lately and going to continue to work on in 2021 is the Single-Use Foodware and Litter Reduction Ordinance. And the reason I think that this is so important is because in Florida, we cannot ban some certain single-use plastic material. But because of that, we want to kind of figure out different ways that we can reduce problematic material. And I really believe that the components of a foodware ordinance are really, really important. So a few of the components are using reusables for dine-in service, accessories only upon request. And that means if you're getting to-go food, that plastic utensils and napkins, ketchup, straws, stuff like that shouldn't just be automatically thrown in. You should have to ask for it. We want reusable to-go systems. So this is really a big deal and really would be fantastic if we could get it. But if we had reusable systems for when people got coffee to go, if we had used reusables when people got food to go, and that means a reusable coffee cup that would somehow be able to be captured in our community, sanitized, and then reused. And also to-go food, if we had reusable containers for those that we captured and sanitized and got back to those restaurants or the farmer's market. Possibly a charge for disposables. And this is for cold and hot beverages. So if your favorite coffee shop had to use a certain level of to-go coffee cup, so for example, if it had to be certified compostable and it had to be free of chemicals, but there was also a charge because we just want to educate the community that disposable is not the way to go, reusable is. So I'm working on some education outreach on this foodware ordinance, and as a zero waste communities, we have to embrace this kind of movement away from disposables and movement towards reuse and refill systems. And that's really what a foodware ordinance is all about. But with zero waste communities, how do you begin to do this? So if you don't already have a city or county commissioner that is pushing it, then you might have a community group that might ask for it. So in Gainesville, our commissioner, Adrian Hayes Santos, said in a commission meeting about 3.5 years ago, hey, we should be a community that works towards zero waste. So at the same time, Nina Bhattacharya, who's pictured with me in this picture, she's like, oh, I'm going to start a community group because we need to educate our community about zero waste if they're talking about it in the city commission. So I got on board with Nina right after all of that started. And it's really been a collaborative effort between the city commission, our community group, working together to get zero waste moving. So zero waste communities is really about culture change. We want to raise awareness. We use a lot of social media and we get a lot of stakeholder engagement. And this is really important. We've done this through our forums and workshops and tabling because the community stakeholders are really the owners of the zero waste strategic plan, the zero waste movement. And so they need to feel that they're a part of it and help us shape it. And that's a big deal. But with zero waste lifestyles, I really, really like to talk about this because day to day as consumers, we can make a big impact in buy what we buy and how these systems are day to day. So this is a big deal. So zero waste lifestyle is basically living in a way that creates little to no waste. So buying less, buying quality, buying local stuff, and buying used. That is all so important to help with zero waste. Remember, resources have value. With zero waste lifestyle, we want to avoid single use. So again, we want to avoid the disposables and push towards a reuse and refill system. We want to promote a circular economy. This is through redesign of products, through reuse and repair and recycling, and living a simple life in line with nature. So zero waste lifestyle is not a reason to buy all new eco-friendly items. Also recycling to excess. We hear that a lot in the tabling we do, that people just recycle so much. And so there's zero waste, and recycling is part of it, but it's really not the main part of zero waste at all. We also don't want this to be a movement just for the privileged. Again, this should be an inclusive process in your community. Everybody should have an opportunity to work towards zero waste. It also shouldn't be temporary. This should just be the new way that you live. It shouldn't be about avoidance, and it shouldn't be the individual's responsibility. And again, that's why I think it's so important to move your whole community towards zero waste, because that will make it so much more easy for the individuals to have a zero waste lifestyle. So how to begin your zero waste journey? Well, I tell people to start with a waste audit. So you need to know what you're throwing away. And if you conduct a waste audit, that will help you. To make a plan and start with reduce and think about the circular economy. Also think about what motivates you. So you guys know what motivates me, my connection to nature and my love of animals. It's really important to me. But here's some examples of how to do a waste audit. So with a waste audit, you basically save, sort, and study the trash that you generate. So you could do this after one day, you could save several days, you could save a whole week's worth. So I do these off and on with me and my family with the trash that we generate. And I usually will save it for about a week. And let me tell you a pro tip is that when you're planning to do a waste audit, go ahead and keep your food scraps separate for that day or those couple days, because it'll just make the waste audit a whole lot easier. And I have data sheets and directions that will help you out when you do your waste audit. So here's the stuff just sorted and separated into different components. The bottom right is actually the landfill stuff. The rest could be recycled or reused or composted. And I kept track on my data sheet. So how to begin your zero waste journey continued. So I encourage you to buy or to look around your house, because you probably have a lot of bags, jars, real utensils, cloth napkins, and hand towels. And basically, if you gather up all that stuff, you can create a zero waste kit. You probably have a lot of stuff at home already that will help you be zero waste. If you do need to buy some items to help you be zero waste, I encourage you to look at thrift stores first. They often have utensils or cloth napkins. At the Repurpose Project, we actually do sell these zero waste kits that you see in the picture. They're kits I put together from jars that I used. Silverware and napkins are from the Repurpose Project, just salvaged material. The bag there I sewed from material that was donated to the Repurpose Project. So it's a small drawstring bag, and that's a zero waste kit I use, and we also sell it at the store. So years ago, because I've been working towards zero waste for a long time, we would have to look online for stuff if we needed to buy it. And one good store is called Life Without Plastic. It's an online store. But locally, we have a store called Life Unplastic, and that opened about 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago. And so now we are able to go to our local zero waste store and check out products in person, which is pretty fantastic. And they have a lot of bulk stuff too there. I encourage you to check out books in your library that have to do with zero waste when you're beginning your zero waste journey, and find what motivates you to be zero waste. Like I mentioned, if something motivates you, like climate change mitigation or being part of your community because your community is working towards zero waste, or just learning so much so you can be an example in your community and share the information, or just thinking about nature and that nothing in nature is wasted and you want to be like that too, all of those are good reasons. So this is a picture of all of the stuff my family and I use to be zero waste. A lot of this stuff is really old, like decades old. The silverware, the cloth napkins, the pouches with the animals on them, I bought over 10 years ago for my daughters that use those every day in their school. Reusable bags, the good cloth bags will last you decades. The one in the picture I've had for probably 16 years now. Some of the containers are more new. Some of them were gifts for doing stuff. You definitely do not need a stainless steel straw or a stainless steel pint cup to be zero waste. These have been some gifts from some volunteer work I've done with some groups. Glass jars are helpful. If you drink coffee, a travel coffee mug and water bottle, all of those are good things to have. So zero waste while shopping, it's really important to think about zero waste when you're grocery shopping, because we buy a lot of food and we need food. Every day we eat food, so you have to constantly buy food. So this is a big area where you can reduce the waste, is with food, packaging, and with the products you buy. So gather up your reusable bags. I use cloth bags, and some I've made from t-shirts or the salvaged materials. I have some that are good for produce in bulk. I have some that are good for, big grocery bags. So I have a variety. They're all washable cloth bags. I think that they're the best. But what I would encourage you to, when you're grocery shopping, is to buy unpackaged or bulk food if it's possible, if you can do that. Use your reusable bags, take your jars with you. There's one thing I love to do is to get fresh peanut butter from the peanut butter machine directly into a jar that was probably a jelly jar. And as long as you know the weight of that glass jar, then you can tell them at checkout and they will subtract the weight of the jar and you will just pay for your peanut butter. And I do that even now. And it's a fantastic way to reuse a glass jar and get unpackaged peanut butter, which I absolutely love. I also encourage you to buy from local farmers here in Gainesville and Alachua County. We have amazing local farmers here. So I have a CSA, a community supported agriculture program, where I get a share of the fruits and vegetables every weekend through the season, which is October to June. The other thing about living here is that we have such good berry season. So from January through May, we have local strawberries, and then we have local blueberries in like June and July. So it's pretty fantastic that you can buy all this local produce. And the thing about it is when you buy local produce, you can talk to the farmer. The farmer's right there, or at least the people who work on the farm. And you could talk to them about that you don't want packaging, you want the least amount of packaging, and you want to return the packaging. So that's what I do with the case of strawberry during strawberry season. We return the green baskets and the cardboard box and we'll buy a flat of strawberries every week, and we're able to return the packaging and they reuse it. It's just a fantastic system. And zero waste really is about building up the local economy. So we want our food to travel the least amount of distance and to be unpackaged and to be healthy. But we do need to talk about shopping for everyday things. So basically, when you think about a zero waste lifestyle, we want to reduce consumption. We might not need so much stuff, all of the stuff that we have. I encourage you to watch The Story of Stuff. It's a 20-minute YouTube video, or read the book. The book's often available in the library. It really helps you understand all the resources that are used, the greenhouse gas emissions, everything that's associated with all the stuff that we buy. So I really encourage you to think critically. Do you really need to buy that new item, the blender or shoes or water bottle, reusable, anything? Even with zero waste stuff, you only need so many water bottles, you only need so many reusable bags. I also think about nature and the earth and the circular economy with every purchase. I try to think, is it a durable item? Is it reusable or repairable? And then at its true end of life, will it be recyclable or compostable? I always attempt to buy used first before buying anything new. An example is clothes. So we have a lot of great used clothing stores in Gainesville. And my family and I buy used clothes, or at least we look first there at the used clothing stores to see if we can find what we need there. And a lot of times we do. Catalog Choice is a great way to cut down on junk mail. They are actually run by the Story of Stuff Project, and you can just enter in some information and they help you cut down on the catalogs you received and some other junk mail. And you might be thinking to yourself, well, junk mail is recyclable, and it is. And I encourage you to recycle your junk mail that you do get. But what if we can reduce the production of it upstream? Meaning if the demand goes down, then maybe they don't have to make as many catalogs, cut down as many trees, or take as many raw virgin resources from the earth. That's really what zero waste is all about. I encourage you to eat at home, avoid takeout, and make food from scratch. And this really is a hobby of mine. I really like to make things from scratch. So this kind of just aligns with my zero waste effort. It's a hobby of mine. I have a bread machine, so we make our own bread for sandwiches. We make pizza dough in the bread machine. I really like to make hummus, and if we make baked goods like cookies or cakes, I really just like to make that stuff myself from ingredients that are unpackaged or low packaged ingredients. So zero waste really is about reusables. Using reusables. So the picture on the left is a picture of the stuff my girls would use to pack their lunch for school. And they would just use these reusable pouches I told you that we've had for over 10 years, a water bottle, real silverware napkin if that was needed, and containers. The picture in the middle top is a picture of a few basic things I always have in my purse, which is 2 pint cups, real silverware, a real napkin, and a really small folded up reusable bag. So the reason I keep this stuff in my purse is because I've had instances where you didn't realize it, but you would be eating food and you don't want to use the plastic utensils, or you don't want to use the plastic cup. And these stainless steel pint cups are pretty amazing. You don't have to have a stainless steel pint cup. Again, I got these I worked on a toolkit with Plastic Pollution Coalition as a volunteer. So they gave me a couple pint cups and I was very fortunate about that. If you see the covering I have for the pint cups is actually pajama pants from my daughter. I just kind of sewed up the bottom and they work perfectly to keep that pint cup clean in my purse. And then other things, reusables. I use a lot of glass jars. So I will buy nuts and seeds and beans and rice and flour and oats and everything from the bulk section. And then I will transfer into glass jars at home. So again, about glass jars, I absolutely love glass. Glass jars are reusable. They're so handy. There's so much you can do with glass jars. I love the feeling of glass. I love drinking out of glass. I think it's just fantastic. So I keep glass jars. If jelly was in it, pizza sauce, olives, yogurt, anything like that, I will clean the glass jar and keep it as long as I have storage for it. So a lot of things we do with the glass jars, we put our toothbrushes in them. We drink out of glass jars. I put the bulk items in glass jars. I freeze in glass jars. So if I have extra fruits and vegetables from the CSA and I don't want it to go bad, I will freeze it like you see with the zucchini here. I shredded it up and I froze it and I then used it later for a vegetable lasagna. The same thing with beans or stews or soups, I will freeze them in glass jars. So kitchen and cleaning, so it's really just about using reusables. So you probably have reusable containers around your house. No matter the material, I encourage you to use them, whether they're stainless steel, glass, or plastic. If you have them, use them. You don't feel like you have to go out and buy a bunch of new stuff to be zero waste around your house in your kitchen. The same thing, we use cloth napkins, hand towels. With cleaning, we use old rags. A lot of the stuff from when the girls were babies, like burp cloths and stuff, we just keep those. We use onesies around the house that just got kind of gross. We use them for cleaning. We have 2 bulk containers of an all-purpose cleaner and like a window cleaner, and I just have used those for the longest time. And I just put them in these glass jars, and there are cleaning supplies. We do have some single-use items like paper towels and aluminum foil and parchment paper. And with that stuff, I just use it so very sparingly. And I reuse it if possible, as far as the parchment paper and aluminum foil, because that is really reusable. But with the paper towels, we had 1 roll of paper towels that lasted us 3 years because we just barely ever used it, because we use reusable washcloths and hand towels and stuff like that instead. But in the bathroom, so keep it simple. We use bar soap for everything, to wash ourselves or wash our hands. I use plain products. So it is a shampoo and conditioner that they refill or they reuse the bottles, the metal bottles, pretty fantastic. I use Preserve toothbrushes. Preserve is a company that makes their toothbrushes out of recycled yogurt cups. It is a plastic. But then they also take their toothbrushes and their other products back to recycle them. With floss is often itself plastic. The packaging is often plastic. So I have floss that comes in a glass jar, and you buy the jar once, but then you buy the refills and pop them in. The toilet paper I will buy from Life Plastic. They have some recycled toilet paper, or Who Gives a Crap, which is another company. It's all plastic-free toilet paper. So with zero waste lifestyle, zero waste is just so much more than recycling, but I do want to mention recycling. But the goal with your life, your day-to-day life, is to reduce and reuse so much on the front end that you don't even have that much to recycle on the back end. But we do want to recycle those items that are effectively and mechanically recycled in your area, which are really basic items. There's not that much that is effectively and mechanically recycled, unfortunately. All kinds of paper products and boxes are, glass and metal, steel and aluminum cans. And then with the plastic for our community, it's just the number ones and the number twos that have necks. So the bottles, basically. And our recycling can also take the number 5, the polypropylene yogurt and margarine tubs. But the thing about recycling is that we as zero wasters, excuse me, should buy stuff made out of recycled content. So look for that post-consumer recycled content. If you see products made from post-consumer recycled content, you should buy that stuff, because really what we want to do is create a closed loop system. So composting is another thing you can do day to day in your zero waste lifestyle. And I encourage you not to throw food scraps away in your garbage. They'll make it to the landfill, and that contributes to climate change. But instead, let's try to reduce wasted food, meaning, eat up what you have in your fridge. Don't let food go bad. Eat your leftovers. Freeze it if you think it's about to go bad, like the fruits and vegetables. It will preserve them till you can use them. But the food scraps that you do have, like the peels and the pits and the cores, stuff like that, it should all be composted. And you can do this within your backyard, or maybe you have a community composter in your area, like we do here in Gainesville, Florida. So we actually have 2, and the one I subscribe to is Beaten Path Compost. But we've also composted in our backyard for decades, and we still do have a compost bin. What you need to do is make sure that the greens, which are the stuff that come from your kitchen, your food scraps, are mixed with a bunch of browns. And usually it's a 3-to-1 ratio, where 3 browns to 1 green. The browns are really the fallen leaves, are the best thing and easiest thing to do, to rake those up and cover up your food scraps with the dead leaves in your yard. And the thing about composting, it's really a natural system. It's an amazing natural system of decomposition. It happens every day on Earth, everywhere. And all you're doing is help to create this amazing system where you have bacteria, invertebrates, microorganisms that really work to eat the stuff in your compost, make it warm, and eventually it turns into a soil amendment. It's like dirt, but really it's called more of a compost, and it's a soil amendment, and you can use it in your garden or your landscaping or anywhere. So in summary, zero waste isn't all or nothing. So it's not something that you should strive for perfection. Any amount of waste you can reduce is just fantastic. We, as a family of 4, still throw away about a cereal size bag of garbage away a week. And so that's why I think moving communities towards zero waste is so very important, because it takes the responsibility off the individual so much and makes it more of a community-wide effort to work towards zero waste. And it really is more about the journey than the destination. So any amount of waste you can reduce along the way is a success. I often tell people to set an intention to be zero waste, or to work towards zero waste that can establish a commitment. I also tell people to reach out to companies that are especially wasteful or use products or packaging that just don't fit into a zero waste system. They should hear from us. And it can be a privileged and costly lifestyle, but it doesn't have to be, and it really just shouldn't. And I encourage you to advocate for system change and culture change, support organizations that are working towards zero waste, support community groups that are trying to help make it all happen. And I put this together, 10 steps to begin your zero waste journey. It's just kind of a fun infographic. Set the intention, do that waste audit so you know what you're throwing away. Avoid the single-use disposable items, use those reusables, say no thank you, start composting, so important. Reject anything that's not reusable, recyclable, or compostable. Buy durable items, buy used, so very important. that reuse economy that we need to help establish and make a big part of our zero waste community is so important. Buy local seeds, food, and products, and advocate for zero waste communities. So that is it. I want to thank you all for listening to me today. Please look up Zero Waste Gainesville and the Repurpose Project. Find us on Facebook, YouTube, or Instagram, and you are always welcome to email me. Thank you.